Alright, G-Man, I'm going to lay out exactly why you lost that debate to negation of P. The topic was, are answered prayers proof God exists? Notice the question being asked applies to both of you. Negation presented evidence of several prayer studies that were conducted to demonstrate exactly what you were supposed to be proving. None of those studies provided evidence. Some of the results even indicated that prayer can be harmful. Negation also offered his own body, specifically his torn ACL, so that you could pray over him, and we could all see if your God would heal him. He had the medical records to prove that his ACL is in fact damaged, and he was willing to help you however you needed, but you didn't. Negation referred to the testimonial of the witness you presented. I don't know his name, but he apparently received money when he needed it because he had several people pray over him. Negation rightly pointed out that this can't be considered more than anecdotal evidence, as there are too many likely explanations, such as most likely, I think, word of mouth. He also pointed out that there are hundreds of cases that show what happens when parents decide to pray over their children instead of seeking medical help, and the children were the ones who ended up suffering. He also made a good point, one that you didn't even come close to refuting, that even if prayer did work, you have no way of knowing who or what you're praying to. It may be a different God or Satan or some other demon, if such things actually exist. Again, we only have your word that it's Jesus you're talking to, if you're actually talking to anyone or anything outside of your own head. Your own points were basically as follows. You claim that a person can pray and keep a prayer journal as a record of what prayers were and were not supposedly answered. But 140 years of prayer studies, none of them support your argument. And then all we're left with is your word that prayer has worked on you in the past. And then you claim you know it's Jesus that you're talking to, because you have a personal relationship with him and you know what he would and wouldn't say. How do you know this? Because of the scripture, you say. In case you aren't aware of this, there are over 30,000 denominations of Christianity. Many of them have mutually exclusive doctrines. In other words, they're in direct contradiction to each other. And I'm sure some of them would be in direct contradiction to you. So let's not forget the other entire religions that are also mutually exclusive. And then again, we're just left with your word that your interpretation is correct. So what's your response to negation of P's arguments? You apparently haven't even heard of the prayer studies and completely ignore how badly they undermine your claim. You refuse to pray over negation of P's torn ACL, which could have given at least anecdotal evidence that prayer works. In response to the parents whose children died because they refused to give them medical care, you made it quite clear people should seek medical help first before praying, and only pray for help from Jesus when all other possibilities have been exhausted. As far as I'm concerned, if you genuinely believed in the power of prayer, you wouldn't say something so telling. If you say that all we have to do is ask God directly to find out what he wants for us, that begs the question for those of us who don't have faith that he exists. If you pray to Jesus and don't get what you asked for, that means Jesus just said no. If you don't get what you asked for and have no way to know if Jesus did in fact say no, how can prayer ever be considered proof that he's real? As with all of the other arguments for the existence of a personal God, once you remove the presupposition of faith, you're left with unanswered questions.